And welcome, everyone. I am Sasha Thackaberry-Voinovich here with another one of our Real World Conversations, where we talk with people who are experts in their fields about everything from a specific topic all the way through to their own career and their own career journey and advice for people looking to develop their careers. And I'm here today with David Leaser, who is Vice President of My Inner Genius. So why don't we start, David? I'd love to hear just the 1-minute version of you and your expertise and your career, and then we'll move right into talking about the transforming landscape of workplace skills and what's going on with that. So why don't you start? Give us a 10-cent version of your career and your skills.
Well, I've been in the tech world my entire career, except when I was a lifeguard in college. But after I came out of college, I got a job as a very young, graduate managing the graphic services and the computer labs at UCLA. So here I was, early 20s with about 70 employees, probably not really ready for that. But it really launched me into really using technology in everything I do. I was a beta tester. I'll age myself very much. I was a beta tester on Photoshop. So, I mean, that tells you way back, and also the Microsoft Office. And that led me to other different places along the tech world. And I started getting recruited to do other things out of UCLA. I worked in the CRM space, and then I was recruited by IBM. And I spent most of my career at IBM in the technology space, mostly as an entrepreneur at the company, where I went in there really to sell education products. I was in charge of selling education products, and I did really well at it. And I became number one in the world at it within like a year. And it turns out the way to become number one at something like that is to talk to customers. Who knew? That was, pretty much all I had to do.
Shocker. Yes.
And give them a proposal, But that gave me permission then to do other stuff, where I started getting, because I fixed a problem. And so then I started getting, can you fix this problem and fix that? So I started developing things at IBM. I developed IBM's first cloud-based embedded learning solution. I developed their IBM digital credential program. I architected the beginnings of what became, standards in the industry for IT certificate programs. I was a leader on the Smarter Workforce, and, I did those kinds of things at IBM. And then now I'm with My Inner Genius, which really grew out of a need at IBM to help identify, what a person loves and what they find meaningful in their lives, regardless of their experience, their degrees, their diplomas, or anything else. And so that really is the tech for good area I'm in right now.
I love that, tech for good. And boy, you sort of gloss past a couple of really critical things that you've done that have really led transformation, not just at IBM, but at a lot of places, which is those micro credentials and how to credential skills in new and different ways, smaller chunks, not as big of a chunk, but also developing expertise as you go, which has been really instrumental. I mean, I remember I first met you years and years ago when we were talking about data standards for some of this stuff for OBI, I don't know, 1 point whatever at that point. But you are really one of the trailblazers in this space rather. So how do you see, with the disruption that technology is bringing, that AI is bringing, the impact on the workforce, what do you see? Let's start big picture, macro. What do you see as the impact in the workplace of these big technology shifts?
Well, technology always shifts things. And you mentioned the badge program. The badge program dramatically changed the way IBM started looking at college degrees and started looking at signals of achievement. But I mean, going back before that, there's always been a fear that technology is going to destroy the workplace. Starting back even in the 19th century with automation in farming, and then, we're all old enough to know when the microcomputers started to come in, and people said it's gonna ruin the office, the secretarial pool, and it did. But it didn't reduce the number of people that are in the labor market at all. It just shifted everything to a different place. So yeah, we don't have a typing pool because everybody can type, but that doesn't mean that people aren't working. And so I think people fear it too much instead of embracing it. And I think that that's a big problem. People are, they're trying to put these restrictions on AI and robotics and things like that in order to save jobs. But you can't save the buggy whip industry. You couldn't save the secretarial pool. It's not, the water's flowing. So you need to get on a boat and go with it, right?
Yes,
That's how
absolutely.
I feel.
It's interesting because we're seeing a lot of those same conversations. They seem to like spin up in business cycles, right? Like, oh, it's the end of whatever, or we're going to have mass unemployment. And I think we could have more unemployment, but I also think that will be a temporary state. I think that people are going to need to shift their skills. And there was just an announcement today of more layoffs among developers. And that was in such high demand, for so long. That was considered a safe occupation, right? You could go anywhere and be a programmer. So as we think about like those skills that people need to develop now versus, I don't know, maybe some of those more concrete technical skills that were so sought after in the past, how do you see businesses adapting their workforce? Because it's always more expensive to recruit and hire externally than it is to develop internally. So how do businesses think through developing their people internally, maybe for some of those shifts?
Well, you're absolutely right, and it's not a great story right now for college graduates, because college, what happened during the pandemic was organizations realized they could do more with less. I mean, that's just the bottom line. They figured that they could get more value with fewer people. Now you have it compounded with technology, which is doing these things as well. Right. So there's no question that is going to shift. But I think what will happen, honestly, from a broad perspective is this: the pie isn't fixed. It's not like there's a fixed pie, right? If there's more value creation, then there needs to be more people that are creating this value. So the skills that are needed for right now are those, well, there are a lot of skills that are absolutely cannot be replaced in the workforce that people need to focus on. And they include, the soft skills, the power skills, collaboration, critical thinking, adaptability, stress, the ability to be able to change. And that's, of course, is adaptability. But I mean, all of those core skills absolutely need to be cultivated, and they also need to be broadcast. And I think that's one of the big problems that's going to face us in the short term. And that's why I love Minor Genius. And this is not an ad for Minor Genius, but the idea that, how do you start to surface and understand a person's skills that are needed to collaborate with these machines? Because we have to collaborate with these machines, right? And so what are those capabilities that we need to collaborate with these machines, and how do we make them visible, and how do we give signals of achievement? And that's why badges are great too, right? Because you can create these signals of achievement and badges for things like these skills. So beyond those power skills or durable skills or transferable skills, whatever you want to call them, I think that there are a couple other sets of skills that are absolutely essential in the workforce, and they're going to continue to be essential. Some of them are the industry skills, right? Do you really understand this industry, and at what level do you understand industry, right? So when we think about a pyramid, the bottom is the transferable, durable skills, right? And then up above that are probably the cognitive skills, right? All those cognitive skills that only we have, right? The machines don't really have. And then above that is probably the industry skills. Like, do I understand the banking industry? Do I understand finance? Do I understand all these different verticals? And so I think it's incumbent on people to really go deep on those skills for those organizations to know, I know what's going to happen in this industry. And then you have the horizontal skills, right? You have sales and marketing and customer support and all these other things. And at the very top of the pyramid really is the technical skills. And that's the thing that everybody seems to focus on. And those are the things that are changing, and those are the things that are being disrupted by AI and all these new technologies constantly. And yet that's the only thing that we really seem to be identifying in people, and not those other skills. But there's an enormous need in every organization for people who have stress tolerance, who have adaptability, who have creative thinking and can solve problems. And we'll know how to lasso these technologies. And you don't even have to go deep on that, on the technologies. For example, 2 years ago, prompt engineering. Everybody needs to be a prompt engineer. Well, guess what? The machines have already figured out how to make you a good prompt engineer.
Yeah.
So no, that's not what you need to know. You need to see where the boat is going. And you need to know that what the tools are.
Yes. I feel like there's that necessary sort of foundational knowledge of the domain to understand how things work, right? Because then you can build and you can interrogate AI, and you can, do quality assurance and really figure out how things work if you have a foundation. So it's not as though knowledge is not valuable anymore, or experience is not valuable.
Right.
It's how we deploy it, right? How we deploy it in the workplace. And
by the way, machines don't know what the problem to be solved is in your organization. No. They can help you provide answers to the problem, but they don't know what the problem to be solved is. And that's something that's very uniquely human, because you can figure that out, what the problem is, and then use the machines to help you answer. How many times a day does everybody that is watching this, I'm hoping a lot of people are using ChatGPT all day long, because they have a problem and they want to solve the problem. I mean, if for something as simple as give me the top 10 best, Westerns from the 1950s, right? But the problem is I want to watch a Western, and I want to watch a good one. I don't want to waste 90 minutes. Right? And the machine doesn't know that.
No, it doesn't. It's from a sort of consumer or human behavior perspective. I have Gemini on my phone. It's like the one click now. You just click that power button and you talk, and it gives you a really nice synopsis.
Right.
And there have been a couple of times where I've been like, I'm not so sure about that. But it was related to things that have more, I would say, diverse opinions, or more sort of, it was the one of them was a nutrition question.
Right.
And I got this sort of super general answer instead of like a traditional search would have given you links that you sort of dive into and decide, like, is this the source that I want to use or not? So I think that goes back to that critical thinking skill, right?
Critical thinking and discernment. And you make me think of another one too, is ethics. Right?
Is the what?
Ethics.
Oh, 100%.
Because that's something that machines don't have. Right. They're just going to report on information and data, but you have ethical judgment, right? And how do we identify that, and how do we bring that forward and talk about something that's really critical in a digital world, especially with data security and all these other things, is who's going to have the ethics to be able to manage this data and these machines, and make sure that people are treated justly, right?
Yes.
And their information is treated justly. Privacy, all that stuff.
Yes, the privacy piece is so interesting, because I think we still had the illusion of privacy maybe 5 years ago. I don't know, pre-pandemic, I'm not really sure. But it is just so apparent that so much data that you have is out there, either in an ethical manner where you actually consented to something and you never read the terms of service like most people, and you don't really know what they're doing with your data, or if you're one of the many, many people that don't look at their defaults, right? I'm sure you do, I do, a lot of people who are probably going to be watching this do, and they go through and they turn off, what they don't want to see. But there's also all of your personal data is being hacked all the time. How many data breaches has your information been released in?
Right. Well, even my wife homeschools, and she works with a homeschooling group, and she is in charge of the curriculum for the homeschool groups, right? I started getting things in my Facebook feed on homeschool curricula. It's like on mine. It's like, and then I also get some feminine facial product type stuff. It's like, honey, I know what you're doing, but it's somehow, somewhere along the way, they have insight into my feed from her. I have no idea even how that even happened. Like, I'm going to be buying this stuff for her as a Christmas present or whatever. But no, you're absolutely right. So there is that real need. So bottom line is this: the pie is going to continue to expand. Everybody told us 30, 40 years ago, we're only going to be working 4-day work weeks, 3-day work weeks, because the, technology is going to take over. Well, did that happen? No, it didn't. Because what happened is the value started to expand, the opportunities started to expand, competition started to expand, and that means we needed more. And so I think that there's absolutely going to be shifts. There are an enormous number of roles that are going to 100% go away. And they're probably going to end up starting to change readily, right? So people absolutely have to be adaptable. When I was working at IBM, like you mentioned, I created the badge program at IBM. I knew nothing about digital credential programs, psychometrics, levels, and all these different rubrics and all this. I knew nothing about any of that going into it. I had to learn all of that because I needed to create a world-class program. I couldn't this isn't just some, a experiment, right?
Right.
And so I had to get a PhD in that in 4 months, 3 months. I had probably the most to do that. And then when I was done with that project, I had to create the certificate program, and I had to get a PhD in that. And then we had this customer feedback portal, basically. It's like, we'd like you to change these about your products. And I had to get a PhD in that.
Right. Yes. It is the pace of learning, right?
Yeah.
I think almost that is going to be the most essential power skill, because it undergirds everything else. Now, there is a certain amount of self-awareness that you have to have in order to get better at learning.
Right.
So, and that's super hard to navigate in any business. Do you see, how do you see, is AI going to solve that for us?
Well, I think it can, but you know what? One of the things that I always liked, and I've had good and I've had bad in this area, and I've been good, I think, and I've been bad, not maybe as good in this area, as mentorship, right? I think that there really is an opportunity for collaboration and mentorship, whether it is collaboration in groups and communities. And I know with the universities, the idea of communities is just an amazing opportunity for people. But also with mentorship, I think is another one of those ways that you could do some of the stuff you're talking about, right? If you trust somebody to say, this is where you need to go. And I've mentored people that I've seen them, and I hate to say it, but I'm pretty blunt with them because I don't want to waste their time.
Right.
If I see that, hey, you know what, you're getting wrapped around the axle on something that is not important, I'm not going to go, maybe you should do something. I tell them very specifically, don't do that. Stop doing this and start doing that.
Right.
So, and maybe you're thinking there's an AI mentorship type of thing as well, because there certainly could be. Easily.
There could be. There could be.
Obviously, because we're asking even generative AI to mentor us. So, yeah, I think the idea of being open and honest with yourself and finding somebody who you trust to help mentor you in some way or another, to help you pivot or change or focus.
Yes, focus is a thing.
Because look at seriously. Sometimes you get 3 or 4 different, 5 different ideas. Where should I go with this? Anyway, I think that's key is mentorship, and that's distinct from human.
That is
at this point, right?
Well, people do. I have a friend who talks to her AI assistant has a name and a personality, and she talks to him all day long. He is a legitimate coworker to her. I still use my AI as tools, but when human beings form bonds, right? So it's going to be complex and interesting in terms of how do they form bonds with AI in the workplace. But that's hopefully getting a little bit horizon-y, because I'm not sure we're quite ready to deal with that. But you never know. It could rear its head tomorrow, and we'd have to really get into that. The models are getting so amazingly sophisticated.
Yeah. Well, I even think about Minor Genius because it's a cognitive career counselor.
Right.
And it really is. It really it asks you enough questions about yourself to figure out what you love and what you find meaningful and what careers you truly are going to thrive in. So there is that too, right? So I mean,
Right.
yeah, I you know, if the technology is going to help you, use it to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, because it's a competitive marketplace, other people are using it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
You can't not.
No, you can't.
So I guess that is sort of the theme of this conversation. You can't not figure it out, right? Like
Right.
that's what we need to do. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, David. I mean, I feel like we could just talk all day long, even just about the learning programs that you've created. It's amazing. But thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.